what's the number one misconception people have about resumes?
Yes. When it comes to misconceptions, I would say there are probably two major ones. The very first misconception that a lot of job candidates have is that they treat their resume as if it's a laundry list, where it's a dumping ground, where they have to dump every single detail, every single task, every assignment, every project that they've ever worked on. They think that they have to include it on their resume. And for some reason, it's as if people, I mean, I've worked with a lot of job candidates who fear that maybe somebody's going to find out that they're not including every single detail. And that's not true. First of all, nobody, scopes through your resume and looks to see if you've listed everything that you've ever done. And on top of that, that's not what hiring managers are looking for. You really want to make sure, which we're going to learn today, that you have relevant experience, relevant skills included on your resume, because that's what they want to see. So that's the first misconception. The second misconception is I find a lot of job candidates, they feel that the resume writing process is sort of just a one and done process, meaning you just write one version of your resume and then you blast it out to hundreds of jobs that you're interested in. And the truth here is that's a misconception, because every job is slightly different. Every job is unique, even though it might be the same type of job. Every company requires slightly different skills or qualifications or aspects that they're looking for in a candidate. And so you have to tailor your resume for every job. Now, tailoring does not mean rewriting. Okay, I want to make that clear. It's impossible to rewrite your resume every single time. But if you have the right format and the right strategy, which is what we're going to talk about, then you should be able to make just a few tweaks and you'll have a standout resume for them.
One of the biggest hurdles that you face is a blank sheet of paper or a blank Word document. So when it comes to writing your resume from scratch, where do you start?
Great question. So there are a few things to consider. I think a lot of it starts off before you even type anything onto the Word document. The first thing that you want to get clear when it comes to writing your resume from scratch is know what job title it is that you're going for. What type of job are you going for? You don't want to start your job search, your resume writing process with a slew of different job titles that you want to pursue, because that's just going to confuse you in terms of how you're going to prepare your resume. You want to start with the type of job that you most desire, that you feel is the right next step for you, that you feel you have sufficient education, experience, skills, qualifications in, that you can potentially land that position. So, I mean, I have an accounting background, and so I use a lot of accounting examples when I teach this stuff. But for example, anyone who's in accounting would understand that there's a difference between a senior accountant versus a senior financial analyst. They have two different skill sets. They have different responsibilities in each of the job. And so you want to decide between the two, do I want to go for this or that? And from there, you hone in and you're able to then start the process of slowly building up your resume, writing your resume. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you want to learn how to speak the hiring manager's language. Okay, so this is what a lot of job candidates don't understand. They feel that writing a resume is just the process of looking into the ceiling, looking to the sky, going back in their brain, and coming up with words and sentences that they think would be a match to what the hiring manager would want. And that's not the process at all. There is a language that you have to learn. There's, just like with any new language, you have to learn the vocabulary. You have to understand how things are written. You have to understand how they're spoken. And so you want to immerse yourself in that. And the way to immerse yourself in that is to gather good job descriptions. And so that means going on LinkedIn Jobs, doing your research, going on other career search websites, finding good job descriptions and using them as the foundation for your resume. So that's what it starts with, is gathering good job descriptions.
What is the difference between good job descriptions and bad job descriptions?
Yes, great question. So, I mean, if you've been job searching for a while, you've probably seen some not so good job descriptions. And I'm not here to say, like, if you find bad job descriptions, not so good, whatever you want to call them, if you find them, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't apply to those jobs. By all means, apply to them, but only after you've built your resume off of good job descriptions. Because even for a bad job description, even those hiring managers want to see good resumes, even if they gave you a crappy job description to work with. You still want to build a strong, solid resume. And so a bad job description or a not so good job description is one that doesn't really give you a lot of detail about what the job does, what they require, what the company wants from you as a candidate. And so, for example, if we take a look at what a bad job description looks like, I mean, this might be something you've seen before where the bullet points are very short. It's just very vague, sparse. This is for a technician, mechanical engineering technician, where, as you can see, there is nothing on there that talks about what the job actually does. It's just very high level, very vague. And so there aren't any responsibilities or keywords. And so when it comes to a good job description, before we look at what that actually entails, what you have to remember is that there are 3 key sections that you want to identify that belong to good job descriptions. And that is the summary, the responsibilities, and the qualifications. If a job description has 3, if they break out their bullet points into 3 sections like that, where they talk about a summary or an overview, and they talk about responsibilities, where they detail in full sentences the bullet points for what they're asking for in terms of tasks that you'll be doing, and then they also talk about technical qualifications that you need to have as a job candidate, that's considered a good job description, and those are the best ones to use to help you to build the foundation of your resume. So if we take a look at a good job description here, this is just a section of a good job description. Of course, you know, given space, we don't have the opportunity to look at a full detailed job description, but just as you can see, just from first glance, you can already see in this one where it's a mechanical engineering technician job as well, where they've actually listed out, this looks more like the responsibility section. They've listed out exactly what it is that you're going to be doing as a job candidate: participate in machinery installation, repair and maintenance, assist in preparing design, drawings and specifications, et cetera, et cetera. So they're full sentences, they're well written, they're detailed, they include the 3 sections like I mentioned, and they thoroughly explain the job, and it gives you a sense of what the hiring manager wants. So you're going to want to grab 3 to 5 of these good job descriptions to help you form the basis of your resume to start. If you really learn how to read a job description in detail, you can actually gain a good sense as to what it is they are looking for in a candidate. And that will only help you with not only the resume, but then going on for the interview as well. So what you're really looking for, I mean, aside from the summary, the responsibilities, and the qualifications, what you're really looking for is what I call keywords. Okay, so what are keywords? Keywords are key actions, tasks, responsibilities, knowledge requirements of the position. They basically form the role, and they tend to be repeated throughout the job description. So what you'll notice is that when you start to look at multiple job descriptions, you'll notice that there are patterns and commonalities across the different descriptions. You'll notice that, oh, there are commonly the same verbs being used. Perhaps they all require you to analyze reports, analyze this type of report, analyze that type of report. So now you know, okay, that's actually a keyword because it's repeated, it's repetitive, it's common across multiple job descriptions. And so that's what you want to start taking note of, is the keywords. This is how you form your vocabulary. Like I say, this is how you learn the hiring manager's language.
Yeah, definitely. No, I think that's really good. And then once you have the keyword inventory list, like I'm looking at some of these now, you know, how do you apply that to the resume? So you sort of are looking at these good job descriptions, and then you say, okay, I see these keywords, things like that. What do you do then?
Yes. Okay. So once you've seen the keywords, you start highlighting the keywords, right, on the job descriptions. And then what I would say is open up a Word document, open up an Excel spreadsheet, and start building out what you call an inventory list of keywords. So this again is all about building up your vocabulary. So you'll start to make note of the most common keywords. You'll start to have a list for yourself of knowing what exactly these jobs are asking for from a responsibility standpoint, from a task standpoint, that sort of thing. And then once you have that inventory list, then from there, you're finally ready to take the step of actually opening up a Word document and starting to use those keywords to string together bullet points and essentially section together your first draft of your resume. 3 components components that you want to have on your resume. The first is what I call a profile. And the profile represents the overview of your experience and the qualifications that you possess. So it's the high level summary of who you are, right in a quick snapshot. And I can explain that more in a bit. From there, you're going to want to have your professional experience fully laid out. Now, this is the meat of the resume. This is where a lot of people get hung up on in terms of putting too many bullet points or too few bullet points. And then the last, I would say, is education, especially if you're someone who already has work experience, even just a few years. That's what hiring managers are wanting to see more so, rather than your education. As much as education is important, but if you have what they require from an education standpoint, it's not as vital for you to include it at the beginning. If anything, it's better to just put it at the end, because you want to highlight what you bring to the table from a skills, qualifications, experience standpoint instead. If you already have several years of work experience, I would say for sure, take it to the 2 pages. 2 pages is standard. It's completely acceptable. But anything more than that, on the other hand, is showing the employers that you don't really know how to be concise, potentially, that you can't keep it, down. And the truth is, you're only really wanting to emphasize the most recent positions that you've worked at. You don't need to start writing out crazy detailed bullet points for jobs that you held 10 plus years ago. Those jobs can be kept to a minimum. You can just list the job title, the company name, and maybe 1 or 2 bullet points related to them. But you don't have to do these lengthy responsibility bullet points for every single job. You just want to emphasize the most recent ones, because again, that's what hiring managers are going to be looking at. So you want to pay attention to those, and then keep everything that you've written, the profile, the professional experience, the education, all within 2 pages.
Any tips about writing a resume or profile if you're changing careers?
Yes. The biggest thing about, and this is, I've helped people to do this successfully, switch from one type of career to another type of career. The biggest thing is understanding what experiences, what skills, what qualifications, what tasks that you've performed, that even though it's from a completely different job, completely different career, if that new job that you want to apply for, that type of career that you want to apply for, still requires those basic types of tasks and responsibilities, then make sure you leverage those and use the language that the new job that you're trying to apply for uses, and then sort of like just bring that over, transfer that over for the resume.
Thanks for watching. Some great advice there. Hope you found it useful and informative. If you're looking for additional guidance on your career journey, click the buttons on the screen to see the next video in the series, or watch the full-length episode for more tips. Both videos are also listed in the description below.